Okay, so this particular video is all about interview questions, and our today's topic is how to understand the bias and the variance trade-off, right? So this is a very frequently asked interview questions, usually the students encountered during any data science interview, that what do you understand about the bias and the variance concepts and what is the trade-off between them. So before jumping into this concept, we have to really understand that what is exactly a bias, what is exactly a variance, and why we think that there is a trade-off, right? So, so today in this particular video, I'll cover this, right? And I'll try my level best to clear all your doubts and concerns. Okay. So what are high bias techniques, guys? So high bias techniques are LDA models, linear regression models, logistic regression models. These are the high bias techniques. What are the low bias techniques? Low bias techniques are tree-based models, ensemble models, boosting models. These are the low bias techniques, right? So we can also interpret a high bias as, let's say, understand like we usually, when we build any kind of a parametric models, parametric models are those models which actually assume something about the distribution of the data point. So those are the high bias models. And the non-parametric algorithms are usually don't assume something about the distribution of the data point we are building the model with. So those suffers from a low bias problem. Okay. So now we have to understand that what exactly is a variance, right? So when we build any kind of advanced machine learning models, we are trying to build a complex model out of a training set, and we might have get a very good accuracy, right? Might be like more than 90%, 96%, 98%, and we usually become very happy that we have built the best model in the world. But unfortunately, guys, I have a bad news. You are suffering from, actually your model is suffering from the overfitting issue, right? So it means that you might think that you are building the best model in the world with accuracy of 96%, 98%. But if you actually use that model, and if you're trying to use some kind of an external validation set or a blind set, the model will fail drastically on that, right? So this is a typical problem of an overfitting issue. Okay, so these kind of a models, they don't generally fit outside of the training data. So they actually they failed miserably in validation data sets, right? So we have decision trees which are have a low bias and a high variance techniques. We have earlier read about it, right? So low variance techniques are linear regression, linear discriminant analysis, forest models, random forest, logistic regression models. These are the low variance techniques, guys. And the high variance techniques are k-nearest neighbors, SVMs, decision trees, and all those techniques, they are considered as a high variance technique, right? Now we have to understand, guys, why exactly there is a trade-off between the uh, bias and the variance, right? So if you can see this image, the red circle is actually the target area, right? So our perfect model would be which have a very low bias and a very low variance. This is an ideal scenario, right? So if we got this kind of a scenario, we should pat our back and we should tell that we have built the best model in the world, right? But usually that doesn't happen. So that should be the kind of objective. Whenever we are building our model, we should actually eye for this, right? But whenever we have a low bias and a high variance, we can see that all those data points, they are circled towards the red zone. They are not exactly within that red circle, right? So it means that we have tried to build a good model, but actually it has a low bias, but a high variance, right? So we can see that we can hardly keep up within the red circle. So if you can see in the downward quadrant, we can see that when your model fails with a suffers from a high bias and a low variance technique. So it is actually, you can see that it is actually concentrated at a particular the blue zone, but it is nowhere in the reach of the red data points. And similarly, when you build a model with a very high bias and a very high variance, you can see that it is actually going beyond the circle, right? So ideally, there is a trade-off between the predictive accuracy and the generalization of the pattern outside of the training data. So whenever you're going to increase the accuracy of a model, you're going to lead with less generation of the pattern outside of the training data you have trained the model with. And whenever you will increase the biasness, that will lead to the decrease in variance, right? So the next question would be, guys, how we are going to correct this kind of an issue. So the best way to correct is basically try with smaller number of features in your model, guys. If you use a smaller number of predictors, you can actually control a situation when your model is facing a very high variance. You can also try with large number of predictors when your model suffers from a high variance. At the same time, when your also model suffers from a high variance, you can actually try to seek for more training data sets so that you can try to control the situation. So one of the practical approach I would like to discuss today is so I believe you guys are already aware about support vector machines model SVM. So there is a cost hyperparameter C is there, right? So this particular C basically decides the bias variance control mechanism within that model, and it's a very important hyperparameter, guys. Let me tell you this. So if you have a very large C, it will give you a low bias but a high variance. And similarly, a low bias because you are penalizing high. The cost of misclassification is actually high because you have kept a very large C value, right? So large C value will force the algorithm to explain the data on a stricter manner. And so the algorithm will eventually overfit. And similarly, a small c will give the model a better cushion. So thus your model will potentially be an underfit. So this is the kind of tweak you need to go and you need to, iterate when you're building an SVM. You can actually control the bias variance trade-off with this hyperparameter, right? And similarly, we have k nearest neighbors algorithm as well. You can control that trade-off by increasing the value of the k. It will increase the neighbors in the k nearest neighbors, and in turn, it will increase the biasness of the model, and also it will control the variance, right? So in decision tree also, you can reduce the variance by using a method known as a pruning, right? So pruning is nothing but you are trying to shed off the trees and you are trying to reduce the variance when your model potentially overfits. So these are the classic practical approaches, guys. So you can actually go through this kind of a concepts, and this is a very important concept that would be I am pretty much sure that whenever you will attend any data science interview, you would be 100% you're going to get this kind of a question, and you can actually explain this with real life examples. You can take examples of support vector machines, how you can control the bias variance. You can also give examples of k nearest neighbors. You can give examples of decision tree pruning methods. So these are some of the classic examples how to control the bias variance trade-off, right? So guys, so if you would be interested in knowing more about the different interview questions, so guys, I have a news for you. So we are WeLearn. So basically, WeLearn is a data science and advanced analytics and artificial intelligence company. We are offering courses ranging from Python to deep learning to NLP to SQL. So which would our courses have been curated to make you industry ready, to make you get a job. So what are the things that our courses would cover? So basically, I'll show you the syllabus of our course. So the module one, we are talking about Python. The module two, these are the different topics we are going to cover in the Python course. Then we have a module two, we are going to cover about statistics, the different concepts of statistics. We also will give you live industry projects, 20 plus assignments and live projects. We are going to give you 1:1 mentorship support. We are going to give you placement assistance, and our particular course also covers all machine learning concepts, including hands-on assignments and live projects. So these are the list of syllabus and the techniques which we are covering in our course, and we are giving it for only 999, guys. So this is a great offer, guys. We are keeping it only until October 31st. So we have covered basically one interview questions today. So this is a detailed course which we are covering in the Data Science 101. So we are offering deep learning, NLP, reinforcement learning, Python, SQL, along with projects, mentorships, Keras deep learning framework, sequels, along with assignments, your resume building activities, your profile evaluations, your career doubts, your career path, which paths to decide. So all those things we are going to give. So we have a website. It is welearn.com, www.welearn.com. If you go to welearn.com, if you go to the courses section, so this is our web page. If you go to the courses section, you can see the Data Science 101. So if you click over here, it will redirect you to this course. So right now we are keeping it at a very nominal price, guys, for you guys. And if you are really interested in this course, and if you are really interested in learning more about how to clear data science interviews directly from data science leaders and experts, you wanted your career to be shaped by a professional, this is a place. You can add to cart and you can directly go and fill the form and you can purchase it, right? So this is a totally online self-paced course, guys, and we are giving you online video tutorials from one of the best open source videos as well as custom videos prepared by data science experts. We are giving you assignments, live projects, 1:1 mentorships, internship opportunities, job updates, along with placement supports with the help of our alumni, right? So we are institutes for more than close to a decade old. So right now we have launched this course totally online self-paced. So go check this out. I'm going to come up with more interesting videos like this. Thanks for joining. Thank you.